As the sun sets over the reptiles of the Sahel and the skyscrapers of Nairobi, a new and confusing chapter of African diplomacy has been written in real time. In a move that has left many of the continent scratching their heads, French President Emmanuel Macron has chosen the heart of English-speaking Kenya to host a massive summit, promising billions in investment while claiming that France is here to save and support African sovereignty. But while the cameras flash and the suits applaud, the streets from Bamako to Niamey are whispering a different story. They are asking if this is a genuine hand of fellowship or friendship, or is it just a new coat of paint on a very old colonial house? Good day, you're watching the Global Observer. Our lead story today examines Macron's shocking words at the Africa Forward Summit and why this sudden shift in French strategy has the Sahel and the rest of Africa feeling like something isn't quite right. To understand why this summit is such a big deal, you have to look at the map. For over 60 years, France kept its business mostly in its former colonies, the countries that speak French. But today, the Francophone world is pushing back. From Mali to Niger, French troops have been told to pack their bags. So, like a salesman who lost his best customers, Macron is looking for a new neighborhood by heading to Kenya, a former British colony. France is trying to prove it can play in a league where it doesn't have colonial baggage. Macron announced a massive $27 billion investment plan for things like green energy and AI. He says he wants to create 250,000 jobs. But the catch is simple. He wants those jobs in Africa and in France. It's an investment that ensures Paris stays in the driver's seat of the African economy. But here is where the shock comes in. Macron stood on the stage and told the audience that Africa is the youngest continent and needs investment to be self-reliant. He claimed he no longer wants France to view Africa as its private preserve. It sounds like progress, right? But then something happened that felt like a glitch in the matrix. During the event, Macron interrupted the speaker to scold the audience for talking. He told them they showed a total lack of respect and ordered them to take their side talks outside. To many watching on social media, this wasn't the behavior of a partner. It was the behavior of a colonial schoolmaster. It was a reminder that while the words say equality, the attitude still feels like the old days of the 1960s. You can change the city and you can change the language, but it's hard to change the mindset. The timing of this summit is also very suspicious. Right now, China, Russia, and Turkey are moving into Africa with big projects and no lectures. France is feeling the walls close in. The military leaders in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the men the West calls putschists, weren't even invited to the party. Macron defended his retreat from those countries, saying it wasn't a humiliation but just a logical response. Yet, while he talks about letting states chart their own courses, he is setting up a new economic fortress in East Africa. It is like a landlord who got evicted from one building and is now trying to buy the block next door before anyone else does. In Kenya, the influence of France is already visible, but it doesn't look like soldiers, it looks like supermarket. You can walk into a Carrefour in Nairobi and find French cheese and wine sitting next to Kenyan tea. For young Kenyans, France is a brand for fashion and food. This is what experts call soft power. Instead of using guns to stay relevant, France is using retail and banking. They are using the African Forward title to make it seem like they are looking into the future. But many African analysts warn that this is just a way to ignore the unresolved pain of the past. If you don't settle the debt of history, you're just building a new house on a shaky foundation. This brings us to the bridge builder role of Kenya. The Kenyan government is hungry for infrastructure and nuclear energy projects. They see France as a way to diversify their economy. But there is a danger in being a bridge. If the bridge only carries wealth out of Africa and brings imported cheese in, who does it really serve? Macron says he wants African business leaders to invest in France. Think about that for a second. While Africa is struggling to build its own industry, the French president is asking the continent's richest men, like Aliko Dangote, to bring their capital to Paris. It's a move that keeps the money circulating in the global north, while Africa remains the young continent that is always developing but never quite developed. The real divide here is between the old Francophone West and the new Anglophone East. In places like Mali, the relationship with France is a raw bone. In Kenya, it is a business transaction. Macron is betting that he can use the clean slate in Kenya to rebuild his image. But the Sahel is watching closely. The leaders of the AES, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are building their own regional shield. They are proving that you can fight your own battles and mine your own gold without a French military base on your soil. This summit was a desperate attempt to show that France is still the indispensable partner, but the empty seat from the Sahel spoke louder than any of Macron's speeches. We have to ask, if Europe is here to save Africa, why is it only happening now that Russia and China have arrived? Sovereignty isn't something that is given in an investment package. It is something that is taken. Macron's words might be polished and his billions might look good on a spreadsheet, but something still feels out of place. You cannot claim to respect a continent while shushing its leaders in a meeting. You cannot claim to want independence while asking for African wealth to be invested in Europe. The Africa Forward Summit might be moving forward, but for many, it looks like a circle that leads right back to where we started. The security of the continent cannot be bought with retail brands and supermarket shelf space. It requires a fundamental shift in how the world views African life. For the fathers and grandfathers who remember the long walk to independence, this moment feels like a test. Are we ready to be partners, or are we just becoming new markets for old empires? The people of the Sahel have made their choice. They have chosen the hard road of dignity. Now, as France tries to pivot to the east, the rest of the continent must decide if they will accept a soft version of the old system or if they will join the movement of a truly sovereign Africa. Thank you for watching The Global Observer. I want you to click on the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get more insight on what is happening in Africa. Thank you for watching.